Spain. In the 1500s and 1600s, European monarchs sought to create powerful kingdoms in which they could command the complete loyalty of all their subjects. This form of government, known as absolutism, placed absolute or unlimited power in the monarch and his or her advisors. The strength of absolutism rested on divine right, the political idea that monarchs receive their power directly from God and are responsible to God alone for their actions. An absolute monarchy, it was reasoned, would unify diverse peoples and bring greater efficiency and control. During the age of absolutism, the Habsburgs remained Europe's most powerful royal family, but their lands were too scattered for any one person to rule effectively. To remedy this problem, Charles V retired in 1556 and divided the empire, leaving the Habsburg lands in Central Europe to his brother Ferdinand, who became Holy Roman Emperor. He gave Spain, the Netherlands, southern Italy, and Spain's overseas empire to his son, Philip II. Philip II, who ruled from 1556 to 1598, was the most powerful monarch in Spanish history. A devout Catholic, Philip saw himself as a leading defender of the faith. His efforts to end Protestantism in his domains made him the enemy of all Protestants. Son of the Holy Roman Emperor Charles V and Isabella of Portugal, Philip worked to increase the Habsburgs family's power throughout Europe. This effort led Philip to involve Spain in a number of costly European wars. Known as the prudent king, Philip II was cautious, hardworking, and suspicious of others. He built a granite palace called El Escorial, which served as royal court, art gallery, monastery, and tomb for Spanish royalty. There, Philip spent most of his time at his desk, carefully reading and responding to hundreds of documents from all over the empire. Bureaucrats advised him and handled routine matters, but he made all decisions and signed all papers that he received. Philip II made many difficulties in ruling Spain. The Spanish kingdoms had united with Ferdinand of Aragon, married Isabella of Castile in 1469. A uniform system of government for the entire country, however, had not been set up. Separate laws and local authorities remained in place, but the ways of Castile eventually came to dominate Spanish life. In the 1500s, Castile had more territory, people, and wealth than any other part of Spain. Philip II made Castile the center of Spain and the empire. Madrid, located in Castile, became the capital. The Castilian, or literary, form of Spanish was spoken at the court. Most of Philip's advisors came from Castile. Trade from the overseas empire was controlled by the Castilian city of Seville, and Castilian merchants benefited most from trade. Leaders in Aragon and other Spanish provinces resented the dominance of Castile, and in the 1590s, Aragon revolted. The revolt was put down, but discontent continued into the 1600s. Religious policy. Philip had to deal with a number of troubling religious issues in his European domains. He was concerned about the loyalty of large religious minorities in Spain. These minorities included Protestants, the Moranos, Jews who had converted to Christianity, and the Moriscos, Muslims who had become Christians. Philip supported the Inquisition's efforts to uproot the heresies believed to exist among these groups. He personally attended several auto da fe, the elaborate public rituals of sentencing, usually followed by executions. The Inquisition was so thorough that Protestantism never took hold in Spain. Its actions, however, led to a revolt by the Moriscos in 1569. The revolt was brutally crushed, and finally in 1609, the Moriscos were expelled from the country. In 1567, when Philip had sought to impose Catholicism on the Netherlands, Dutch Protestants rebelled against his rule. This conflict proved to be long, bloody, and complex. The Dutch declared their independence in 1581, but the fighting continued. England gave support to the Dutch and to the English sea dogs, who raided Spanish ships in their ports. Meanwhile, Philip extended his crusading zeal into the eastern Mediterranean, where in 1571 he defeated the Ottoman Turks in a naval battle at Lepanto off the coast of Greece. Spanish Armada. Catholic Spain faced a growing challenge from Protestant England. Philip at first had supported Elizabeth I as England's queen against the Pope's wishes. When Elizabeth aided the Dutch, Philip decided to act against her. In 1586, Philip laid plans to invade England. In 1558, a force of 130 ships and 33,000 men, known as the Spanish Armada, sailed for the English coast. An armada is a fleet of warships organized to carry out a mission. 2 months later, the Armada entered the English Channel in crescent formation. The English had faster, more maneuverable ships and longer-range cannons than did the Spaniards, yet they were unable at first to block the Spanish formation. English fireships, however, were able to separate the Spanish vessels. Running out of shot and short of water, the Spanish fleet retreated to the stormy North Sea. After circling the northern tip of Great Britain, a number of Spanish ships later sank near the rocky coasts of Scotland and Ireland. The defeat of the Armada not only ended Philip's plan to invade England, it also marked the beginning of Spain's decline as a sea power. During the next 2 centuries, the Dutch Netherlands, England, and France would gradually reduce Spanish might in Europe and around the world. Last of the Spanish Habsburgs. The period from 1550 to 1650 is called Spain's cultural Siglo de Oro, or Golden Century. Midway through this era, the Spanish author Miguel de Cervantes wrote Don Quixote, a novel about a landowner who imagines himself a knight called to perform heroic deeds. Don Quixote presented a new kind of hero who did not conform to commonly accepted beliefs and practices. Cervantes' novel also symbolized the steady decline of Spain as a European power. Despite Spain's profitable overseas empire, costly wars drained the national treasury, forcing the government to borrow money from foreign bankers. This, along with the flow of gold and silver from the Americas, led to inflation, an abnormal increase in currency resulting in sharp price rises. In addition, Spain's industry and agriculture declined. The government excessively taxed the industrious middle class. It also expelled the Muslims and Jews, many of whom were skilled artisans and merchants. Philip II's successors lacked his political skills and turned the government over to corrupt and incompetent nobles. Spain became involved in a series of European wars, and overtaxed citizens rebelled. Charles II, who became king in 1665, was the last of the Spanish Habsburgs. No one expected him to rule long, since he was physically and mentally weak. Although Charles later married, he did not have any children. With no heirs to the throne of Spain, European monarchs plotted to control the succession to the Spanish throne.